Championship clubs are now back in pre-season and it's not long before the 23/24 campaign kicks off. We've got a bunch more transfer rumours to jump into today, as well as loads of done deals as well. As always, I want to hear from you in the comments down below, but without any further ado, let's start out with the done deals. Rotherham completed the deal for Cafu on a free transfer. Very interested to see how this one goes. Cafu, a player who played in a variety of roles for Forest in their midfield, and I'm interested to see what sort of role he'll play for Rotherham. Very solid player at championship level, albeit not played that much football over the past couple of seasons, and that would be my only reservation over this sort of deal. He's only made 2 league starts in his last 2 seasons for Nottingham Forest, wasn't involved really in their Premier League squad last season, and only started 2 matches during their promotion campaign. Nevertheless, I think that one's a solid pickup for Rotherham. We also saw a departure from the Millers as well. Connor Washington moving over to Derby County. He's following former Rotherham manager Paul Warne there. It's an interesting one. Washington, a player who always worked very hard up front for the Millers, but I do think an upgrade could be made in that area. He only scored 5 league goals last season, and so I do think that's an area where Rotherham can look to upgrade. We've also seen plenty of done deals go through at Middlesbrough, the first of which being Seny Dieng moving over to the Riverside. Now, I thought Dieng had a pretty subpar season last time around for QPR, but in years gone by has been a very good goalkeeper at this level, and so it'll be interesting to see if, when in a new environment, his performance levels do pick up again, because there is definitely a good keeper somewhere in there. And along with Dieng, they've also added Australian goalkeeper Tom Glover to their goalkeeping ranks as well. We discussed this one on last time's video, but it has since been confirmed. Morgan Rogers has made a move over to Borough from Manchester City. He spent the last season out on loan at Blackpool, and while he didn't have the greatest return in terms of goals and assists, you could tell, very technical player who's capable of playing in a number of roles up front and has all the natural ability to be developed into a really quite special player for Middlesbrough over these next few years, I feel. Sam Silvera comes over to Middlesbrough as well, looking to add a little bit more creativity to Michael Carrick's side. And the deal for Dutch youngster Rav van den Berg has also gone through. We spoke about each of those players that have gone to Middlesbrough in a little bit more detail in last time's video, but all of them have since been confirmed. One of the biggest deals we've seen go through in the Championship so far, Coventry have landed a deal for Everton forward Ellis Sims. Now, half of the Championship was being linked with Sims. We spoke about him continuously throughout these transfer rumour roundup videos so far, and the different links to Championship clubs that appeared each week. I think Swansea were the latest club to be interested in him, but Coventry have got a deal over the line in the end, and with Gyökeres expected to make that move over to Sporting in these next few days, they already have that ready-made replacement in through the door. Now, Sims is by no means the finished product, and he's definitely still developing, but Coventry picked up Gyökeres in a very similar circumstance, and we see the player they've developed him into, and that actually suggests that Sims is maybe a little bit further along in his development than Gyökeres was when Coventry originally signed him. He's had 3 really good loan spells out from Everton in these past few seasons, to Blackpool, Hearts, and last season, first half of it at Sunderland. He's got a good goal scoring record at this level, and a lot of natural attributes that a manager like Mark Robins, I think, can have a lot of fun with. Now, it is a lot of money in the end, the deal being worth up to £8 million. That is including add-ons and promotion bonuses and things like that, but I'm excited to see how this one goes. Coventry have got a good track record with strikers, and I think Sims could be the next in line and the next star to absolutely smash it for them. Massive news for Stoke as well, as they have got a permanent deal over the line for Bournemouth midfielder Ben Pearson. Thought he did really well while out on loan at Stoke last season, and there were a few murmurings about Luton potentially being interested at one point, but Stoke have managed to go around any of those bumps in this deal, and they have got it over the line, and Pearson will be joining them on a permanent basis. Still think that when he's 100% fit and at it, he is one of the best holding midfielders in the Championship. He's worked with Alex Neil before. Probably Pearson had his best days at North End with Alex Neil in charge, and so that's a partnership that I think could flourish. And I mean, provided that he does put some of those niggling injury issues behind him, Stoke have got a top player there. We've also seen a double exit from Leeds, with Brendan Aronson joining Union Berlin on loan for the season. No real surprises in that one. I think the majority of Leeds fans were expecting an exit this summer. Diego Llorente will also rejoin Roma and spend next season on loan with them. And we saw Ipswich completing a deal for Manchester City goalkeeper Kieran Slicker. The 20-year-old will no doubt be one for the future. Not had that much experience so far in terms of of senior football, but certainly a player that Ipswich can look to develop. But those are some of the done deals we've seen go through in the Championship over these past few days. Now, without any further ado, let's hop into the rumours. According to the latest reports, Sunderland have turned their attention to Everton forward Tom Cannon and are said to be preparing a bid of around £3 million. Along with Sunderland, Luton and my side Preston North End are also interested. Obviously, Cannon spent the second half of last season in the Championship on loan with Preston. Now, a fee of £3 million, I'd be surprised if that was to get a deal over the line, if I'm honest. I actually think that long term Cannon actually has a higher ceiling and potential than Ellis Sims does. I think in terms of being a natural finisher, the ability to play off the last shoulder and the speed and technical ability and awareness he actually has, I think he's got a massively high ceiling. While saying that, I don't think he's ready for Premier League football right now, and Everton do have a decision to make with what to do with Cannon this summer, whether they'll go ahead and sanction another loan deal or they do look to cash in on the player, with a few Championship clubs interested. He scored 8 goals in the second half of last season for North End, but once he did find his goal scoring flow, really looked unstoppable at one point. This would be a brilliant move for Sunderland, but I'd be surprised if £3 million got a deal over the line. I think that Everton would demand a lot more. Fulham have joined the race to sign Coventry midfielder Gustavo. Now, there's been a lot of focus on Gyökeres recently at Coventry, with that deal to Sporting expected to go through soon, but the future of Gus Hamer is also up in the air, with his contract at Coventry set to expire at the end of the season. Coventry are in a bit of a crossroads with what to do with the midfielder. Now, if some sizable offers do come in from the Premier League, then Coventry will probably be left with little choice. Lose the player for free at the end of the season, or do cash in on him now if they don't get him to commit to a new long-term deal with the club. A move to Fulham could also be very tempting, a club on the up at the moment. We saw how well they did last season under Marco Silva. Progressive style of play, definitely a lot of progressive style of play, as well as the attraction of moving to London. It does tick a lot of boxes. You could argue that Hamer is just as, if not more important to making that Coventry side tick than Gyökeres was last season as well, and I think that replacing Hamer would be a lot harder to do from a Coventry perspective than replacing Gyökeres. So yeah, Coventry fans, like to hear some thoughts on that one down below. How much of a blow would it to be losing both Gyökeres and Hamer if a big bid did come in for him? We previously spoke about Preston's interest in Danish playmaker Mads Frøykaer Jensen, and it does seem as if a move for the Danish playmaker is drawing closer. He scored 8 goals, got 3 assists in the Danish league last season, and would tick a lot of boxes for what North End are looking for at the moment, especially after Daniel Johnson's departure was announced. He's a creative midfielder who can play as a number 10 or a little bit deeper, looks to get involved in the goals, and at only 23 would be the sort of creative recruitment that I could definitely get behind North End doing more of. From the Danish press side of things, they're reporting that a deal worth up to 1.1 million could have been agreed between both clubs, which would suggest that North End do have a little bit more money to play around with perhaps this summer than was originally thought. Dwayne Holmes from Huddersfield is said to be another player that North End are considering. There is every possibility that we are in the market for 2 creative midfielders, as Josh Onomah has also left the club this summer along with Daniel Johnson. A little bit more apprehensive around this move, thought that Holmes was a little bit inconsistent last season for Huddersfield, if I'm honest. It's been reported that Hull have a deal in place to take Aaron Connolly on loan for the season from Brighton. He spent the second half of last season on loan with Hull, and in the end we didn't get to see that much of him because of injury, but in the 341 minutes of Championship football he played, he scored a couple of goals for Hull, and I certainly think that the Hull fans like the idea of getting him back on loan for another season. Also been reported that Hull are one of the clubs considering a move for free agent Billy Sharp. We previously spoke about Rotherham's interest in the former Sheffield United man. Looking at Hull striker options at the moment, if that deal for Connolly does get over the line, I'm not sure that Sharp would be the best fit for Hull. I think that at other clubs he could perhaps offer a little bit more. Birmingham have taken Keshi Anderson on trial for pre-season. Interested to see where he ends up after his contract at Blackpool had run out. Had a really tough time with injuries last season, didn't really get to see anything from him last time around, but in the previous season for Blackpool definitely showed his class. Technical player who's capable of playing in a number of roles out wide or as a number 10, and definitely could offer something to a side like Blues. As things stand, it appears as if West Ham are leading the race to sign Bristol City playmaker Alex Scott this summer. We know that Bristol City rate Scott highly, around about that 25 million mark, but despite several Premier League clubs being linked so far, it does seem as if West Ham are currently best placed to snap him up this summer. I would be surprised if Scott is still a Bristol Bristol City player come the end of this transfer window, but it is a transfer saga which I wouldn't be surprised to see stretching on for the next few weeks and months potentially. But Bristol City will be signing a midfielder of their own this summer, as a deal for Derby midfielder Jason Knight looks close to completion. In the end, the deal worth up to £2 million currently being discussed. Quite excited to see how Knight would get on in the Championship, a player who would bring plenty of energy and endeavour to that Bristol City midfield. Loves to get stuck in, a real box-to-box engine who will drive Bristol City up the pitch. If anything that he could add to his game, I'd like to see maybe a little bit more output in terms of goals and assists, but maybe that will still come. He's got a really high ceiling in terms of potential. What's interesting about this deal as well is we could also see Kane Wilson heading in the opposite direction as potentially part of the deal. Southampton are the latest Championship club to join the race for Manchester United youngster Amad Diallo after a brilliant loan spell with Sunderland last season, 14 goals, 3 assists in the Championship. He is in high demand, but Southampton will have to battle off Premier League interest to get a loan deal over the line. Russell Martin is said to be a big fan of the winger, but the likes of Burnley, West Ham and Sheffield United are also interested in taking Diallo, along with Sunderland, who I'm sure would love to get him back on loan for another season. Does seem as if Man United are willing to sanction another loan deal this season. Where he ends up right now is anyone's guess. Looks as if Southampton defender Bella Kotchap could be on the move this summer. He is one of their probably most saleable assets. I would be surprised if he did stick it out for an entire season in the Championship, given his ceiling of potential, what we saw from him in a Saints shirt last season. Monaco have reportedly initiated some talks with Southampton over a deal for the defender, who is said to be keen on the move. Would like to get some Southampton fans' thoughts on this one, because Jose Fonte is said to be open to a return to the club this summer. The Portuguese defender, who's almost made 300 appearances for the club, is a free agent after being let go by Lille after some solid years with them. He is 39, which is worth considering. An interesting rumour that's popped up of late. Leeds United are said to be interested in the move for Liverpool defender Nat Phillips. Now, they're not alone in their interest. Feyenoord, another club who I have seen linked with the Liverpool defender. Now, from Liverpool's point of view, it does seem as if they are willing to let Phillips leave, but a permanent deal would be better suited from a Liverpool perspective than another loan deal would be. It has also been claimed that Liverpool rate Phillips at around the 10 million mark, which does seem really pricey considering he's not played that much football over these last few seasons. But Leeds are continuing to monitor that deal. Leeds also said to be interested in Burnley defender Charlie Taylor. Now, Taylor obviously previously played for Leeds, came up through their youth ranks, did have a somewhat controversial exit from the club as well, so I'd be interested to hear some Leeds United fans' takes on this one. But with Firpo expected to move on, a move for Taylor could be on the cards. Now, to be fair, the Burnley defender did play most of last season as a left-sided centre-half, but throughout his career has often been utilised as a left-back and is one of the names that Leeds are currently considering, along with Ryan Manning, who's available on the free transfer. Leeds are also in the market for a striker, and they have been linked to Nottingham Forest man Sam Surridge. It has been reported that Forest are open to letting him go this summer, and a few Championship clubs are currently monitoring the 24-year-old situation. We spoke last time about Ipswich being in the hunt for Surridge, and to be honest, I'm still a little bit up in the air about his overall ability and what he'd be able to produce over a full Championship season. His move initially from Bournemouth to Stoke just didn't go to plan, but then Steve Cooper really seemed to get something out of him for Nottingham Forest in their promotion season. Scored 7 goals in the second half of that campaign in just over 700 minutes of Championship football. And then last season didn't really get that much of an opportunity. A lot of his minutes in the Premier League came from the bench. So a move to the Championship does make sense. I'm just not quite sure at the moment what his level's quite at, whether he is capable of hitting 20 in a season in the Championship or he's the sort of tier below that. Both Millwall and Hull interested in the move for Bournemouth shot stopper Mark Travers. Now, in Bournemouth's promotion season to the Premier League, I thought that Travers was absolutely brilliant, one of the best goalkeepers in the Championship that season, and initially when he lost his first team spot at Bournemouth, I thought that was a little bit harsh, but I mean, you can't really have any complaints over how well Neto's gone on to do for Bournemouth in the Premier League. So a loan move could well be on the cards this summer. We spoke previously about Millwall's interest in Wolves goalkeeper Sarkic, but it seems as if they've moved on to Travers now as their #1 target. Stoke City being linked with a move for Galatasaray Galatasaray defender Emin Bayram. Didn't play that much football last season, just 7 appearances in the Turkish Super League for Galatasaray, but the 20-year-old defender definitely a prospect for the future and an interesting transfer link which has recently emerged. QPR are now being linked with a move for Wycombe midfielder Lewis Wing. Wouldn't surprise me with the Gareth Ainsworth connection. Previously in the transfer window, my side North End were said to be sniffing around the Wycombe midfielder, but it does seem as if QPR are stepping up their interest now in the 28-year-old. Previously of Middlesbrough, does have plenty of championship experience, scored 9 goals and got 5 assists for Wycombe in League One last season. Bit of a moments player, but certainly capable of scoring a long-range banger or two, and isn't a transfer that I'd be against from a QPR perspective. Tatsuhiro Sakamoto is being heavily linked with a move to Coventry at this point in time. The Japanese right-sided midfielder would be coming over from Belgium, grabbed 6 assists in the Belgian Pro League last season. We've already seen Japanese international Koji Mayoshi coming over to the Championship and joining Birmingham, and we could be getting another Japanese international here. But there we have it, guys. That will wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll have another transfer update coming out later in the week. Do get all your thoughts down below on what you've made of your team's business so far. And if you do go to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and do stick around for some regular Championship content. And I'll see you all in the next one.